Hello, I'm 6,626, and I'm here to tell you about my story about my American life. I immigrated to this country in 1995. My parents were here at the time. I actually stayed alone in Mexico with my grandparents for a whole year until my parents decided to finally immigrate me. Once that happened, I felt like everything was taken away from me. I was, at the short age of 7, I was really outstanding student, and then I immigrated to the United States, which made me retake a whole year in elementary, which set me back. Culture shock was not an issue because I did move into a predominant Mexican American community. However, that impacted me because I wasn't one of them. I wasn't Mexican American, and I was often discriminated by the Mexican American community, which is why I think the reason is that growing up, I was somewhat, I was ashamed of being undocumented. I was ashamed of saying that I was Mexican. As a result, I've always claimed that I'm American, which I feel that everyone in this country who is here is an American, no matter what part of the world you come from. And regarding your legal status, anybody who is in the American soil is an American, and I feel that way about everyone. And so in high school, I didn't take education seriously for a period of time, and I did not apply to universities because I knew I wasn't going to be able to afford it, and I didn't know any help about AB 540 students, which is undocumented students. So I enrolled at community college, and I decided to take a trade. I took a trade in culinary arts and immediately started working in the field, in the hospitality industry. I started working as a line cook. As a result of being undocumented, I kind of let myself be exploited by my employers, working 6 days a week over 10-hour shifts. And I allowed this to happen for over a year and a half, and finally I decided to quit. But I needed to keep working because I was living on my own at the time, and I was trying to get an education as well. And then I kept working on the hospitality industry as a hostess, and then as a food runner, and so still being in the kitchen. And once again, the result of being undocumented gave me a fear of not being able to speak up for myself. And once again, I allowed being not exploited this time, but I put up with sexual harassment for 2 years. And I wasn't able to do anything about it because I didn't want to speak about it because I didn't want to be fired. It's an embarrassing situation as well. And I didn't want my employers to find out about my legal status. So I kept quiet for a long time until finally I decided to quit. I'm currently still I'm still getting an education. I completed the culinary arts degree. However, working in the industry made me realize that's not what I wanted to do. So I'm currently at community college working on transferring to a 4-year university. My top universities are UC Berkeley, UC Davis, USC, and UCLA. I'll be transferring soon, hopefully, and I'm going in the field of political science because I want people to be aware. I want to create some sort of paradigm shift, where we're not looked as Mexicans or Mexican Americans or Latinos, Hispanics. We're in this country and we are Americans, and who gets to decide what to label us, just because, are they going to label us just on the basis of our skin, our gender? It's not, I think it's really unfair that people look at me and they assume that I'm Mexican, and I say, no, I'm American. A lot of times people ask me, how come you deny your race, your ethnicity? It's like, I'm not denying it. I know, I'm very aware of who I am, but I'm American as well. And we need to prove that we are American, and we need to stop segregating each other and stop labeling each other. I think we need to stop labeling each other first, because we're doing it to ourselves, and that allows other people to label us as like that as well. So we need to say, when somebody asks you, oh, where are you from? And then you say, America. Oh no, where do you come from? America, because we're in America and we're all Americans. I want to say that I am pretty much active in the with the California Dream Network, and I want to change that. You know, I want the DREAM Act to pass, because it is important for students like us at community colleges, at universities, and I don't know what else to say.
Can you tell me a little bit about what it is, or what it feels like to be an undocumented student? Some people say that if you're a college student, for the average American, you have a place in society, but at the same time, you're undocumented, so you lack any form of ID. And when you take yourself off from a college campus and you go back home, you're undocumented again. Can you tell me about that?
Well,
Like what it feels like and what...
what it feels like. Well, I've always, like I said, I pretty much was ashamed of saying I was undocumented. Because of that, I think regarding the ID issue, I never really go to places where I know they're going to ask me for an ID, because I feel ashamed, and I know I shouldn't. But it's a feeling that, you know, no one else can experience other but yourself, and no one is able to understand it unless they're in your same situation. And when I enrolled at community college, they asked me for a social security number, and I said, well, I don't have one. And I was given a student ID number and a social security for school use only. And, you know, people will ask me like, oh, well, you know, you can use that for work. Because I know you can't, you know, like it's only for school records. I guess a lot of people really don't understand what it's like being undocumented. I think now I try to explain it by being part of activist groups and making people aware of what it's like being undocumented. A lot of us aren't, every time someone asks me, every time someone asks me for, like, say my legal status, or I have to say my legal status, I always say like, oh, I'm undocumented, but not by choice. It isn't by choice. And people ask me, well, why don't you do anything about it? And it's like, I am doing something about it. I'm getting an education. I am part of an activist group. I'm part of the movement. I am doing something about it.